What could have been awesome if people hadn't ruined it? Meta keywords on websites used to be a good way to tell search engines what your website is about. Until lots of websites started keyword stuffing and adding tons of unrelated keywords to show up in more searches. So now most search engines just ignore theme is here. Keyword stuffing drives me nuts when online shopping. There needs to be a separate place for keywords. They don't belong in the item's title. Oh, look at this one pair: men's, women's, kids, unisex, polyurethane, genuine, FEAUX, leather, professional, cosplay, steampunk, medical, no finger, mitten, glove, HANDCOVERINGS with zipper snap closure. They are gloves. If I search for a specific item, like leather gloves, I report every single thing that comes up in that search that is not leather gloves. Fuck those people. Every system, once somebody decides to gamify it for likes, clicks, money, whatever. So, YouTube, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is here, and Snapchat. It got so bad that you forgot to mention it. Had a Nerf fight for my birthday and one of my friends brought a modded Nerf Mega. There is always a bigger fish. Brings Glock. Random adults helping random kids was ruined by pedophiles and kidnappers. I'd like to help this kid, but they might think I'm a creeper, so I'll just stay away. Stranger danger after all. Edit. Also, I guess same thing applies to men legit wanting to help women out without any expectations whatsoever. I will add just plain old friendliness. I was at the supermarket last weekend and there was an older man shopping behind me, and we were both shopping for protein bars, and I thought I was in his way, so I turned behind me to check, and we made eye contact, and I kinda smiled and moved my cart up, and he was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not following you," quote. And I felt so bad because I never intended to make him feel like I thought he was a creep. He wasn't. He was just a regular dude who lives in the neighborhood I live in. Also shopping for groceries. And I hated that moment. Trust me, when men are creeps, I let them FCK and know. Sad how much fear is embedded in communication these days. Worst shit is when I need to drastically change my route because there's been the same woman walking in the same direction as me for too long. Used to be TV news was commercial free, so it was considered a reasonably reliable source of information. Once they introduced the advertising-supported 24-hour news cycle, they all had to compete for the most sensationalist stories, hooking the most people instead of giving actual news. When was this? I remember watching the news with my parents when I was a kid. Early 80s. And I feel like they always had commercial breaks. Duluth Trading Co. Satisfaction guarantee. If a product fails soon after purchase, send it back. If you use the product and it wears out, be a mention, know that you got a high-quality product that served you well. And don't cheat and say you're not satisfied like a punk. I love Duluth. I had a pair of pants that got caught on a nail, and I told the cashier that I got caught on a nail, so I understood if I couldn't return it. She was all, "No, totally return this. I buy all my workwear here, right down to the undergarments." My wife bought some pants for work. A few months later we are in for me to get a new wallet, and she says something offhand about needing new pants soon because she is losing weight and will soon need smaller sizes. The cashier told her the manager would consider that part of the satisfaction guarantee and to bring in the old ones to exchange, even though it was several months since buying them. We were loyal customers for the quality clothes, but we're lifelong customers for the guarantee and the employees. Chat roulette. Could have been so awesome to just randomly chat with someone in another country, but people had to ruin it by just having dicks on it all the time. All new media becomes a method of sending dick pics pretty early on. That's just history. This is absolutely true. I worked with some guys that developed a handheld 3D scanner. They sent out beta units for people to test. They informed them very clearly that debug data and Their 3D scans were visible to the development team as your guess what they got from the first units. Out, dicks. So many wieners. They had to ask testers to not scan their private parts after that. Lawn darts. My friend and I used to play lawn dart chicken with the old-fashioned metal tip ones. You toss it straight up and see who can wait the longest to dive out of the way when it comes back down. He won when it hit him as your won. We had a common area where anyone who needed it could let their animals graze. But then wealthy folks with a lot of land and livestock would descend on it en masse, even though they didn't need it, and ruined it. It's a tragedy. Ah yes, the tragedy of the commons. Flying drones as a hobby. I'm scared to fly my race quad in my local park now. This gave me flashbacks of literal 5-year-olds running up to me asking if they could have a turn. Because I've done this before, trust me. I'm a master. Quote. Haven't been drone flying in a while even with my small RC plane. Oh yeah, my wife is a drone pilot for her job and just a week ago we were test flying her drone to make sure it could do the job she needed it for. All in, this drone plus equipment costs around $5,500. A kid asked if he could fly it and we said no, and his mom ridiculed us for not letting her son at least try. My favorite fishing spot. Catherby. Crab. Jagex is powerless against overcrowded fishing spots. Crab. YouTube. Between the weird popularity algorithms, the unstable copyright and IP regulation, and the recent upsurge in ads to incentivize a paid subscription, YouTube had surely fallen from its dynasty in leading video sharing platforms. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Google values user experience just enough to stay on top. But anything beyond that is just fuel for profits. It's kinda weird how the internet shows just how much an economy can be fabricated. Just as the USA functions within a military-industrial complex, the internet ultimately profits from user inconvenience. I see you watched one video about politics or World War II. Would you like to watch this video about how genocide is good? If not, I have some great Family Guy funny moments HQ full quality 24/7 for you. The news used to be public service in the US. When TV was delivered over radio waves, the government let networks use the best frequency for video and audio. In exchange for 1 hour of public service of news without ads. Ruined that. Now we just have a grab for attention for ratings. Thus ad sales. No news. Just entertainment. The rainforest. Welcome to the jungle. We got trees and rain. We got everything you want. Mostly trees and rain. Return policies. There were a lot of places, like REI and LL Bean, that had great return policies. However, people abusing them eventually led to the companies making them stricter. Yes, what it comes down to is that people have no integrity. People will return half-eaten meat, strawberries, and absolutely push the limits on what is returnable. On the one hand, I understand why people do this. A big company sold you something. You should get what you paid for. On the other hand, I think about all the dumb motherfuckers out there, and my god, there are a lot of them. Returning everything imaginable. I'm someone who just cuts my losses most of the time, because at the time of purchase, I understand what I am buying and I think through the life of the item I am buying. I worked at a retailer with a very forgiving return policy for a few years. There were several regular customers who would make large purchases of clothing and other items, only to return nearly all of them in the following days, sometimes over several trips. A little today, a few more tomorrow, etc. This was constant. I hated selling $600 worth of shirts to these people knowing I was going to have to process all these items as returns in a few days. This job would be great if it weren't for the fucking customers. Randall. After scrolling through The consensus seems to be, everything we touch. You are a virus, Agent Smith. We get this feeling. The mountain lake where my parents had a summer cabin and dock for fishing and swimming. It used to be pristine and peaceful, the smell of pine trees in the breeze and abundant fish. Now, as I once mentioned, the trees have been cut down. The water is polluted with oil and gas from roaring motorboat engines. And the fish are gone. Similar thing in northern Indiana at Lake Tippecanoe, where my family has had a place since the 1950s. Sure, developers come into places that are beautiful, but they have built so many giant homes that it's mostly multi-millionaires up there with their huge wakeboarding boats and personal watercraft. I love looking at the photos from the 80s when I grew up and we went up there to fish and swim and water ski. The people were real. Lots of retirees who worked all their lives to buy a little cottage on the lake. And the families passed the cottages down the generations. Oh, well, that's what happens, I guess. There are a lot of lakes up there and they're all beautiful. The Great Barrier Reef was and still is awesome. Unfortunately, Australia and the world have likely doomed it. I heard they found a way to rapidly grow back coral by splitting them and letting each half grow. Our reefs may be okay if they hurry. It doesn't matter if we don't fix the underlying issue that caused the coral to die in the first place. The History Channel, TLC, Discovery, etc. used to be such great education tools and put out great content. Now, it's saturated with reality TV shows that are on all the time. God, I miss when I was in middle school and history was all about that World War II shit. I learned way more about World War II on history than in class. I can't even remember TLC being anything but reality TV. The last time I checked in on Animal Planet, it was the same thing. Edit. Yes, I know TLC used to stand for the Learning Channel. LOL just had about 45 people in a row tell me that. I just meant it seems like TLC has been infested with reality TV longer than any other station.
Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.